You walk into a room and immediately sense the tension no one's talking about. Someone tells you they're fine, but you feel their sadness like it's your own. A friend describes their pain, and your chest tightens with it. You don't just understand what people are feeling. You absorb it. You carry it. You become it. And if you're an empath, you know this isn't a superpower, no matter what the internet tells you. It's not all deep connections and meaningful relationships. Most of the time, it's overwhelming. It's walking through the world without emotional skin, feeling everything everyone around you feels, and having no way to turn it off. People tell you it's a gift, that you're lucky to be so intuitive, so connected, so sensitive, but they don't see what it costs you. The exhaustion of absorbing everyone else's emotions. The confusion of not knowing which feelings are yours and which you've picked up from others. The guilt of setting boundaries because protecting yourself feels like abandoning people who need you. So what does it really mean to be an empath? Not the romanticized version, but the lived reality. What are the hidden costs that nobody talks about? And how do you survive in a world that feels like it's too much all the time? Let's start with what empathy actually means for empaths. This isn't the empathy most people experience, where you understand someone's feelings cognitively or feel sympathy for their situation. This is something more visceral, more consuming. When someone near you is in pain, you don't just recognize it, you feel it in your body. Their anxiety becomes your anxiety. Their grief becomes your grief. The boundary between their emotions and yours dissolves. Neuroscience suggests that empaths may have hyperactive mirror neurons, the brain cells that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing it. For most people, these neurons help with understanding and relating. For empaths, they might be in overdrive, creating an experience where observing someone's emotion triggers the same emotional and physiological response in your own system. This means being an empath isn't a personality trait you can change. It's how your nervous system is wired. And that wiring creates a fundamentally different experience of being alive. Here's what people don't understand about being an empath. You can't control it. You don't choose whose emotions to feel. You walk past a stranger who's upset, and suddenly you're upset. You scroll through social media and absorb the collective anxiety, anger, joy, everything everyone's broadcasting. You're constantly processing emotional information you never asked to receive. And it's not just humans. Many empaths feel the suffering of animals, the distress of the natural world, the weight of collective trauma. The entire world feels alive with emotion, and you're tuned into all of it all the time. There's no off switch, no way to dial it down. You're just perpetually open, perpetually receiving. Let's talk about the first hidden cost: emotional exhaustion. Being an empath is like running an emotional marathon every single day. You're not just managing your own feelings, you're processing everyone else's too. By the end of the day, you're drained in ways that are hard to explain to people who don't experience this. Someone vents to you about their problems, and you don't just listen. You feel what they're feeling while they're describing it. You carry the emotional weight of their story long after the conversation ends. And this happens repeatedly with multiple people throughout your day. You become an emotional dumping ground, and you can't help but absorb what's being dumped. The exhaustion is cumulative. You're never starting from a place of emotional rest because you're always carrying residue from previous interactions. And people don't realize this about you. They see someone who's caring and present, not someone who's drowning in everyone else's feelings. The second hidden cost is identity confusion. When you're constantly absorbing others' emotions, it becomes genuinely difficult to know which feelings are yours. You wake up anxious, But is it your anxiety, or did you pick it up from your partner? You feel suddenly sad, but are you sad, or did you absorb it from a stranger at the grocery store? This creates a profound disconnection from your authentic self. You lose touch with your own emotional baseline because it's constantly being influenced by everyone around you. You might make decisions based on feelings that aren't even yours. You might think you want or need something when really you're responding to someone else's desire that you've absorbed. Over time, this erodes your sense of self. You become so used to feeling other people's feelings that you forget what your own feel like. You become a mirror of everyone around you, reflecting their emotional states while your own identity becomes increasingly unclear. The third hidden cost is boundary dissolution. Empaths struggle enormously with boundaries because boundaries require a clear sense of where you end and others begin. But when you're feeling someone else's feelings, that line is already blurred. How do you say no to someone whose pain you're literally experiencing as your own? You end up taking on responsibilities that aren't yours, trying to fix people's problems because you can't bear to feel their distress, staying in relationships that hurt you because leaving would mean feeling their pain, sacrificing your own needs because everyone else's needs feel equally urgent inside you. And people learn to use this about you, often unconsciously. They know you'll say yes, you'll help, you'll carry their burden, because you can't not feel what they're feeling, and feeling their pain is unbearable, so you do whatever it takes to alleviate it, even at your own expense. The fourth hidden cost is overstimulation and overwhelm. Empaths are often also highly sensitive to sensory input. Loud noises, bright lights, crowds, strong smells, they're all overwhelming. And when you combine sensory sensitivity with emotional sensitivity, the world becomes almost unbearably intense. You can't go to crowded places without becoming overwhelmed by the emotional energy. You can't watch the news without absorbing the collective trauma. You can't be around negative people without taking on their negativity. You have to constantly manage your environment to avoid being completely overwhelmed, and that's limiting in ways people don't understand. You turn down invitations not because you're antisocial, but because you know the emotional cost will be too high. You avoid certain people, places, and situations not because you don't care, but because you care too much and it destroys you. Your life becomes smaller and smaller as you try to protect yourself from the overwhelm. The fifth hidden cost is the inability to stay neutral. Empaths can't not care. You can't observe suffering without being affected by it. You can't maintain the professional distance that others seem capable of. Every injustice, every cruelty, every bit of pain you encounter hits you with full force. This makes certain careers impossible. Medicine, law, social work, anything that requires regular exposure to suffering becomes emotionally unsustainable. Not because you lack competence, but because you lack the emotional armor that would allow you to function in those roles without being destroyed by what you witness. It also makes navigating the world painful. You see homelessness and feel devastated. You hear about disaster and carry the weight of it. You witness injustice and internalize the rage and grief. The world's pain becomes your pain, and there's no way to build immunity to it. The sixth hidden cost is relationship complications. You'd think being an empath would make relationships easier, but it often makes them harder. You feel your partner's emotions so intensely that you lose yourself in the relationship. You prioritize their feelings over your own because their feelings feel like your feelings. You also know things your partner hasn't told you. You sense when they're upset, distant, dishonest, and that creates a strange dynamic where you're responding to information they haven't shared, which can feel invasive or like you're imagining things. But you're not imagining it. You're feeling it. And that disconnect creates misunderstanding. Partners often don't understand why you need so much alone time, why crowds drain you, why you can't just turn off your sensitivity. They might feel like you're too intense, too needy, too affected by everything. Or they might become dependent on your empathy, using you as their emotional regulator without realizing the cost to you. The seventh hidden cost is the trap of helping. Empaths often become fixers, healers, therapists to everyone around them. Not because they necessarily want to, but because feeling someone's pain creates an urgent need to stop that pain, and helping is the fastest way to stop feeling what they're feeling. But this creates a dynamic where you're always giving, always supporting, always available, and people come to expect this from you. Your relationships become one-sided, with you in the role of constant giver and everyone else in the role of taker. And you allow this because setting boundaries means feeling their disappointment, which feels unbearable. Over time, this leaves you depleted, resentful, and alone. Because nobody's taking care of you the way you take care of everyone else. Nobody's checking if you're okay. They assume you're fine because you're always so strong for them. But you're not fine. You're drowning. Let's talk about what helps. First, you have to learn to distinguish your emotions from others. This takes practice. When you feel something strongly, pause and ask, is this mine? Did this feeling start in me, or did I pick it up from someone else? Sometimes just naming it as not yours helps create separation. Second, you have to become religious about boundaries. This means saying no, even when you feel their disappointment. It means limiting time with emotionally draining people, even if they need you. It means protecting your energy as fiercely as you'd protect a child. Because without boundaries, you'll be consumed by everyone else's needs. Third, you need regular emotional clearing practices. Whatever helps you release absorbed emotions, time in nature, movement, creative expression, energy work, therapy. You have to actively clear what you've absorbed, or it accumulates and becomes unbearable. Fourth, you need alone time. Not optional alone time, but essential, non-negotiable alone time. This is where you return to yourself, where you remember what your own emotions feel like, where you recharge from the constant drain of being emotionally open. Fifth, you have to find your people, other empaths who understand this experience, who don't think you're too sensitive or too much, who get what it costs to move through the world this way. That understanding, that validation, it's essential for not feeling crazy or alone in this. And sixth, you have to reframe empathy as something that needs management, not something that defines your worth. You are not valuable because you feel everything. You are valuable because you exist. Your worth is not dependent on how much you help, how much you give, how much you carry for others. Here's what people need to understand about empaths. This isn't a choice or a skill. It's a way of being that comes with profound costs. When you see an empath, you're seeing someone who's constantly managing an invisible burden, who's navigating emotional information that others don't even perceive, who's exhausted in ways that don't show. So be gentle with the empaths in your life. Don't expect them to always be available. Don't take their empathy for granted. Don't make them responsible for your emotional regulation. Recognize that what looks like strength is often barely managed overwhelm. And if you're an empath, know this: you're not too sensitive. You're not too much. You're not broken. You're someone with an incredibly responsive nervous system, navigating a world that wasn't designed for people like you. And that's hard. It's okay that it's hard. Your empathy is real, and so is its cost. You don't have to pretend it's all a gift. You don't have to be grateful for the exhaustion. You can acknowledge that while your ability to feel deeply connects you to people and to life in profound ways, it also hurts. It drains you. It complicates everything. Both things are true. Empathy is your way of experiencing the world, and sometimes that way is beautiful, and sometimes it's unbearable. You don't have to choose one narrative. You can hold both. What you do have to do is take care of yourself. Protect your energy. Guard your boundaries. Give yourself the same compassion you so freely give to others, because you can't keep pouring from an empty cup. You can't keep absorbing everyone else's pain without releasing it. You can't keep being everything for everyone without being something for yourself. The world needs empaths. It needs people who feel, who care, who haven't numbed themselves to suffering. But it doesn't need you to destroy yourself in service of others. It needs you whole. It needs you sustained. It needs you to survive your own empathy. So feel what you feel. Absorb what you absorb. But then let it go. Clear it. Release it. Return to yourself. Again and again and again. Because your empathy is part of you, but it's not all of you. And the part of you that exists beyond the feelings you absorb, that's the part that needs your attention most. That's the part that deserves your care, your protection, your love. Not because of what you can feel or give or carry, but simply because you exist. And that existence, separate from everyone else's emotions, separate from the constant giving, separate from the burden of feeling everything, that's worth protecting. That's worth fighting for. That's the you that matters most. And it's time you started treating it that way. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.